Hello everyone, welcome to the training session of FM Online Reporting. My name is John. I am responsible for the development of FM Online Reporting project. I have proposed the overarching solution and architecture, designed the report templates, engaged with CVs and arranged pilot tests. In this training, I will demonstrate to you how to work with the reporting tool and benefit from automations. With many thanks to the input of all stakeholders and more than 1 year hard work of our project team, finally, we have the project ready to roll out. The FM Online Reporting Project is funded from Motion 16 of General Assembly 2017. With recently approved advice note, the project is mandatory to be implemented from 2021 onwards. This training aims to help CBs to get familiar with the reporting modules and start easily. Today, we focus on user story. For more project background information, you will be guided to the project landing page, including webinars and FAQs. Topics today. This training will last for 40 minutes. It is mandatory for CBs who has forced management in the accreditation scope to take the training, to understand the overall picture of FM Online reporting and to implement. We will start introducing you how to get started and followed by the 5 modules of the FM Online reporting solution, which is the main component. At the end of the training, we will show you how to get user support and the resource available. So to get started, we need to prepare our environment. First of all, please ensure that on your computer you have Microsoft Word 2013 or above version. That includes 2020, Office 365 and 2016. Second, we need to install a Microsoft Word add-in, and I will show you just in a minute. And third, we need to ensure that CB has admin account and the auditor code. So the admin account is used for CB reviewers or coordinators who will create audit and upload the report. For auditors, we have a common code to fetch data. We have a resource available by clicking this link. So you don't have to remember this link, and I will show you how to get this link. So if we switch to browser, let's type fsc.org, and from the portal, the main page of FSC, we check integrity from navigation bottom, and from innovation, we can click digital audit report. And this is the landing page for FM Online project. From this page, we have the background information. We have highlights, webinars, resources, and FAQs. Today, we will use resources. So first of all, you can see there are 9 different languages available. We have German, English, Spanish, French, Japanese, Portuguese, Russian, Ukrainian, and Chinese. And these 9 different languages will cover 90% of the FSC certified area globally and 80% in terms of number of certificate. So we can take a look. We just simply randomly pick up Japanese template to have a flavor. So it's possible to write report in any of the preferred language, and the translation will be enabled in our certification portal. This is the Japanese template, and you can see that the labels, the date is according to the Japanese format, and of course you can type in the local letters, local character. In, for example, I will type Japan in local language, and it's supported. We can get this data into our system, and we can also recognize this is the country is Japan. So I will close at the moment and continue with the add-in file. So the second resource is the Microsoft Word add-in. We need to install this one to enable proper work with our solution. So this one is absolutely necessary. Let's click on install, run it, and we continue, run anyway, and just next and next. At a certain point, I need to type in my admin credential for my computer. And you can see that in a few seconds, the installation is finalized because the installation file is super portable, which is only 2 megabytes. And followed by that, we can see there is a group member list template. So we have this template for the purpose of uploading a huge number of group members. In case of thousands of group members, we can copy and paste to this Excel template and upload to our FSC certificate portal. And there's no need to type one by another in our the template I just showed you. And at the last, we have a resource called the Global Pesticide List. If you open this pesticide list, you can see that FSC has made a great effort that we have tried to collect all the potential pesticides available in the forest management. And not only the FSC prohibited, restricted, or highly restricted, we have also more than 1,000 different pesticides listed here. And we also collected the different common names. For example, this pesticide, Ananap, has 3 different common names. And to avoid confusion, we only choose one, the most common one, into our word dictionary. So in case you want to type in any pesticide, please ensure to use the word dictionary. And we also provided some names in French, Chinese, and Russian. So for the categories, we have different categories like restricted, prohibited, and highly restricted. And for this pesticide, once you enter it in our word template, we are able to identify the color, the category. I will show when I open the template. So go back to the presentation. We'll move on regarding the FM Online modules. There are 5 major modules for FM Online. First, we can create audit. So by create audit, every auditor will get a notification email. And before create audit, we are sure that all data from the old system from Salesforce is synchronized to the FSC certification portal. Second, the report writing in FM templates. This part is mandatory from 2021 onwards, and only from 2022, the other modules is mandatory. So although it's not mandatory, we still recommend CBs take voluntarily use all these modules because you will see there are huge benefits in terms of automation. So the third module is about data fetching, validation, and upload. So we can use the functions, inbuilt functions of the Microsoft Word add-in and click button to validate the data at the end upload to FSC Dynamics CRM. With this data uploaded on the web page based function, we can use auto translation and proofreading, which I will show you later on. So in that case, we don't have to prepare a separate report because if you don't use this module, you have to manually create a separate public report. And sometimes you need to create that both in the official language and a local language. After creating the public summary and finish the translation manually, you still have to convert that into a PDF file and upload to Salesforce. But if you use the full module, all these functions will be inbuilt and you don't have to do additional work manually. Also, the translation API is super powerful that supports 110 different languages. At the end, there is a submit errata function, which I will show you later on in case that there is an error spotted after data uploading. So let's go back to the real environment and start to create an audit. If we want to create an audit, we need to go to the portal. The portal HTTP link is fsc.microsoftcrmportals.com. And for the training purpose, I will use Microsoft QA. And in this portal, we need to sign in. So I will sign in with the testing account, cb.1, and by signing in, we'll be able to see all the FM certificator within the CB. I will click on FM certificators, and from there, we can see that all the certificators belongs to the testing CB is shown here. So the data is synchronized automatically with from time to time from our Salesforce. So if you create a new client with a new license code, or you transferred a client from another CB, and that data, that certificator will be shown here also. So I will randomly pick up an certificator and try to create an audit. As you can see, there were 2 audits created already, and their bottom for modify and delete is gray. So for this audit, we already have data. And I will create a new audit by click this bottom. On the right side of this bottom, we have data uploading. This one is used for uploading group members, and this one is allows CPs to upload any pictures from the field audit. So let's try to create an audit. For demonstration, I will create an audit. You have to identify the audit report template that you want to use. So I identify English template, and later on I will use the template in English to fetch data. And we have to identify what audit it is. The audit type, I can select main evaluation just for demonstration purpose. You can also select surveillance. Normally there will be 1 main evaluation followed by 4 surveillance, but it does not stop companies to make a main evaluation to extend the scope, etc. So also you need to identify the audit mode, either it's on-site or remote. And then I need to identify the date. So I will identify a date in the past because I want to assume that this audit has finished and now we try to upload data. In the future, after the transition phase, we are only allowed to create an audit in 6 weeks ahead. And we have the total area field here. Normally this data, the total area is synchronized, but if it's a new client, there is no such area information. You can still type in there. And at the end, we need to identify who would be receiving the notification of the audit that will be happening. So you can send this email to auditors, to reviewers, or to product managers of FM certification of your CB. So for the testing purpose, I will type audit report .fsc at office.org, and you can add additional recipient by separated by comma. So I will add another one, my own email account, and I'll create the submit. So after creating the audit, you can see audit created successfully. We can also configure the target translation. So in case we need translation to the local language, and I will select Japanese and click save, just as example. And you can see that the translation, you cannot do it because we don't have data yet, and the public summary is also not available. You can still do modifications to the audit or delete this audit and create another one. But however, this create audit at the bottom is gray now because only 1 live audit, 1 open audit can be created for 1 particular certificate holder. So we have created this audit successfully. Now we need to check in our email box to see whether there is an audit notification coming out. Very well. You can see that the email has reached in our inbox. So it tells us what is the certificate number, what is the basic information, just exactly what we see in the audit creation page. So the notification email will be sent after creation of the audit. Also, with a reminder, if you will not submit audit report within due date, another notification email will send to the recipient, including auditors. After we have sent the audit details to the email recipient, I want to show you how to write reports. So let's open a Microsoft Word. The add-in is smart. So first of all, you need to ensure the Microsoft Word is open. Second is that if you open a irrelevant, for example, a random document other than the template, the add-in will not be showing up. Even you click the bottom, it doesn't work. So you have to open a template. So for the training purpose, I will open a template that I have filled some data to otherwise the training will take forever. So I will open a template which I have recently filled already some data, and now you can see the audit add-in display is shown on the right side as the side pane. And the first thing we need to do is to fetch some data, because you can see the majority of the data fields are empty. I will type in the CB code of this test in CB and press enter. And immediately you can see that there are 3 open audits, including the one I've just created. I will select this audit and try to fetch data. So the fetch data operation is progress. And since we are using Microsoft Azure as the infrastructure, and the data fetching is working pretty quick, it does not depend on where you are. It can be located in any country. As long as you have fast internet, you will get data immediately. So you can see the basic information has there, and I can also start to type other informations. I will put the audit date. So the report date is today. And I want to also show you that the template is smart. So in case you select surveillance, and you can see originally we have 25 pages. And after we select the surveillance, and the report has become 18 pages. So all the irrelevant part for surveillance has been hidden. So the report itself, we only use one single type of report, but it's flexible for all type of evaluations. And so we have a drop-down list, as I showed you. Also, we have date picker. You can pick up a date, or you can simply type it in there. And since we input the audit report date, you can see at the footer, each page of the footer, we have the audit client name and the audit date synchronized. And let's move on to introduction. So you have to read this introduction. For example, if the element is marked as asterisk in this report, then it's not necessary for slim forest. And this part you can keep the data field empty. And if the elements are marked with hashtag, this part is also not mandatory. And CBs can feed in the data. That will be helpful for FSC to better monitoring our system, but it's not absolutely necessary. And also, please pay attention to dollar signs. So in this audit report, there are many data fields could related with privacy or some secret business confidential information. In that case, we will hide them from the public report part. But for the audit report, it's still available for CBs and audit client, but it will not be shown in the public summary. And the unit. So for our solution, we support multiple units. So for example, the metric unit is hectare, but for USC, you can still use hectare. And there is a conversion factor shown over here. And if you select hectare everywhere related with area, we will use hectare instead of hectare. But we will ensure data consistency. We will multiply by this conversion factor and store the hectare unit, hectare account amount to our database. So for the training, I will change it back to hectare. And a unit of volume, you can select cubic meters, cubic feet, or quarts. And the unit of weight, you can use ton, US ton, or imperial ton. And in terms of pesticide, you can select either kilogram or liter, because although we prefer dry mass, but sometimes it could be very difficult for auditors to gather this information. And if you choose liter, although it's not preferred, because we don't know the solution, the concentration, the water solution of the pesticide, but for the moment we allow to choose liter to give flexibility and user experience, better user experience. And you can select the type of certificate, either as a group certificate or simple FMU. If I select simple MMU, you can see that the audit report also getting shorter. So the group related information, group related tables will not be shown in this template. And you can also select multiple drop boxes in case there are third party involved in the first many activities. You can be multiple selection by the checkbox. Please also pay attention to the tips above the content controls. For example, this one, it tells you to type in 1 decimal place with stop. So this one tip tells you if there's no double certified area, type 0. And when there's no tip, so this is flexible text, you can enter anything. So this helps a lot to tell you what type of data is preferred in this data field. And also, I want to show you a function about real-time validation. So if you check in this one, show validation message on focus off, while we are typing some data fields, for example, in Germany, if we select Boreal Forest, and immediately we get an error message because Boreal Forest does not exist in Germany, obviously. And the add-in identified the certificator country, Germany. So let's change it back to temperate. So see, you can see there's no error message, and this function can be opt-out when you only want to use this option at the end of the report writing. So to avoid constant error message, sometimes not user-friendly. And I want to show you the ecosystem service. So there's a checkbox, and when you have ecosystem service in your scope and you have checked this one, then you have to fill in the Annex B. By default, Annex B is hidden. So when you don't have that, uncheck that, you can see Annex B is disappeared. Annex B disappeared immediately. So there are certain logic behind that. And this works also for the change of scope. So when you check this box, the scope will be updated, especially for the FMU and MU part, because not every evaluation, the FMU and MU information of the certificator will change. And now we are moving to the species section. As you can see, the species section is actually repetitive. You can click the bottom to add new species within this table. I try one. Okay, so we can type additional species. So the species you can select from the drop-down list. However, there are only 20 around, and you can also type the species. I will show you. So let's try Pinus masoniana, for example. And I didn't type it correctly. And when I get out of the box, you can see there are red waves beneath the species. And for this Microsoft add-in, we embedded the dictionary, tree species dictionary. There are 60,000 tree species embedded in this template, and you can right-click and immediately correct this Latin name into the right spelling. And please ensure that to use the underscore instead of space, because when you have space between two words, these two words are considered two separate words and will not work with the dictionary. And for that, I will add possible products for this species. And of course, for Pinus manzaniana, you should not select natural bamboo, and you only select input this bamboo species in this content control. And as I told you before, you can see there's a hashtag for these two fields, so it's mandatory and not mandatory. So you can choose it enter nothing. For some tree species, maybe there's no tree name, there's no remark. Some people may put remark saying that this species there's no sale, which is also fine. But when there's no sale, no current harvest, or no sold FSC claim, you can put 0. But if you don't put anything, the validation will not identify the figures and will pop up with an error. So you can also delete tree species if you want, and try right click and delete species repeat section. And this part, only this part will delete, not the whole table. And you can see that we have 4 different species added for this certificator, and the number is automatic. Followed by long team product table, and which is similar. You can add multiple species, multiple different NTFB. You can select from the drop-down list in case you have mushroom, fruits, or any kind of NTFB. But for NTFB, we do not validate species because we don't know what type of species of mushroom. And if you want, you can. If you don't, you just leave it empty. And while enter the annual harvest of NTFB, you can select weight instead of cubic meters. It's very difficult to say how much cubic meter of mushroom. So let's choose weight, ton, US ton, or imperial ton. And the next section is about pesticide use. As you can see, the pesticide are colored differently. So when prohibited pesticide is entered, for example, a la carte law, it is a prohibited pesticide and shown as red. So when I select another one, if I select 24D, and you can see the color is blue. Blue is restricted. And if you select another one, it will become violet. See, this one is highly restricted. For the prohibited or restricted, highly restricted species, you have to follow certain procedure. Sometimes there's a need for environmental social risk assessment, but the color itself is self-evident. Tell you pay attention to the category of the pesticide, and it's the same like tree species. When I have typos in there, the red wave will be shown, and for pesticide, you can also use the dictionary to make autocorrection. So let's move on. So this part for the first context, as I told you before, this is only applicable for main evaluation. While I select main surveillance, for example, the first context section will disappear. You see, it disappeared and it goes directly to MU and RMU. So for that, I have to change it back because I created an audit, which is main evaluation. So let's move back and change it back to main evaluation. And by that, the first contact section will be shown again. It's back now. And most of these data fields are descriptive. So you can describe what kind of responsibilities, ownership, user rights, etc. And here we also have checkboxes in case there are multiple selection. You have different type of activities ongoing. And in case of other, when you choose other, please specify what is the other activity. So we'll validate these fields. And if you can look down, there are some data fields is marked as green, also with hashtag. For example, this one. And for this one, we're interested with the first file, but you can leave it empty because it's not mandatory data field. And now it's the section about the MU and RMU. So in case that there's large number of FMUs, we recommend that to merge these RMUs according to their location or ownership to one single number of a limited number of RMUs. And there's some information is quite important and be validated. For example, the longitude and latitude. Please use WGS84 decimal space and use this range. So instead of north 47.5, I'm sorry, this is not north, it's longitude, and you have used east or south or west. We don't have to use that. In case of west, we can use minus instead of the E character. So we can select the tenure ownership. We can put the figures there. And I want to show you that this figure of area will be summed up. If when I change that into 1 hectare, you can see the total area of MU and RMU is automated to 14. So it's quite automatic. And the total area of all the FMUs will be summed up together and compare with the area we had it before on the FME table. So it's again like species and pesticide. It's repeatable. You can click add bottom to add more FMUs. HCV. So for HCV, normally we select the major HCV attribute to avoid the double accounting for the area. In case that you have overlapped area for one piece of forest land that has multiple attributes of HCV. Normally, we only input the main attribute as the total area. You can potentially have HG3, of course, but please do not move the HG3 to the second row. In that case, the area will be double counted. So in case that the HCV3, this area is far away, is not in the same area. In that case, we can type the area. For example, there's an additional 10 hectare, however, in a different area. Then these two areas will not be double accounted. And you can also type the description of HCV3. And the next one is regarding the forest management group. because we selected the group certificate for this FM certificator, and this part is visible. So you can type in the relevant information in terms of responsibilities, elaboration of responsibility, etc. And for group member list, we can add the information over here when there are only less than 20 group members. You can add their contact details, etc. one by another, and the total area should fit. However, when there's large number of group members, we can copy the information into an Excel file and upload. So there's also one important checkbox. If you check this one as public contact, then the group member name will be shown. Otherwise, when it's a private name and the name does not want to be shown publicly, then we uncheck that. So in that case, the public summary will hide this group member from the public page. And there is a content for adding pictures. So you can add a FMU picture. You can add the picture that describe the forest area, etc. So it's up to you. You can leave it empty or add some picture. And this is also repetitive. You can add additional pictures. And the lumbering is automatic. So when you have more pictures, the lumber, when you update this field, will be automated. Here, it allows additional flexible rich text. You can add pictures, add tables. So in case that there are additional information from your CB is preferred here, but we will not consume this data to our cloud. Here you can select the standards used for this evaluation, national standard or CB standard. In terms of CB standard, please give the link to the standard published on CB's website. And this is the evaluation process. We created audit from July 28th, and you can see the date was filled there. And here is the total person days, and please ensure that the person days from here is the subtotal of the person days from this below table is equivalent to this person days. And the sampling methods. And there are some additional voluntary fields, as you can see, it's in green and with hashtag. We're happy if you provide to FSC. If not possible, it's also allowed. And the audit itinerary. So you can combine different audit itinerary into 4 hours, or if you want to be more accurate, into 2 hours or 1 hour, which is also fine. But the maximum number is 6 hours. So you can put all the activities for these past 4 hours. What did you do? Select the type you visited, and you can add the multiple sections. And stakeholder consultation process. So this is the first data of consultation. You can the data can be considered data you send the email or reach out to certain stakeholders. That can happen for before the audit in terms of surveillance, but for main evaluation, of course, we should have the stakeholder consultation 6 weeks prior. And here we can record the stakeholder comments. So when it's applicable, when it's not applicable, it can be left to be empty, and you can add multiple records from here. And for the complaints received, you can see there is a $sign, which means that this will not be public available information. So that will be only stored in this audit report and database, but not for public summary. And this part is for correct regression from previous evaluation. So any non-conformity from previous evaluation will be fetched by the fetch bottom, so that during next evaluation, as a CP, you can review what the correct regression has been taken by the OD. At the end, you can consider whether this audit finding is open or closed. And there are 4 types of audit finding. It can be a minor non-conformity, a major non-conformity, a gap. A gap normally comes from pre-evaluation, and an observation. So observation is not non-conformity, but something not comfortable, and the certificate holders shall pay attention to it. And you can add multiple tables to the nonconformities, and the finding number will be automated. And this part is actually checklist. While in our 2007A, it's called observation. So the observation has different meaning to the observation from this table. So you can type in the finding, basically can be conformity or non-conformity evidence into this box here. and the clause will be copy and pasted from the standard. FAC is working on data requirement database of normative requirements, and in the future, we can populate the clauses by automation. So when we have all the national standards in place, and it's up to CBs to record the information either at the criteria or indicator level. It is totally flexible. We can, for example, add 1.2.1. It's also okay, and you can add multiple rows to this table. And the audit finding is the same table like audit finding from previous evaluation, but this audit finding is only relevant from this audit. And if you find anything, the default option would be open. The non-conformity is open and to be verified for the next evaluation or before the due date. Again, you can add multiple tables by click the plus button. And there we have the peer review. So peer review is applicable for main evaluation. Please station that the peer review date normally should happen after the audit date. And this part we have the certification decision and the basic descriptions. Once we selected the drop-down list of the certificate decision, and the certificate status will be updated. For example, if you choose maintain the certificate, then from a service and audit, then the certificate status was maintained with valid. When you choose grant, then the certificate status will change from applicant to valid certificate. So there are some consequences by click the bottom, grant or maintain or suspend or withdraw, and that will impact the overall certificate status. So then we come to Annex A, which is the certificate bodies checklist or appendix. And this part is flexible, and we don't consume this data to FAC cloud, but this is the serves as a function like if CB has your own checklist, you can paste it over there, but you can also choose not to paste it there. If you want to keep everything in one document, which is also allowed. And there is Annex B, as I showed you, is only applicable when we have ecosystem service in the scope of FM certificate. So having done the report writing, if you have successfully finished the audit report, normally this report has to be reviewed within the certification body in terms of whether the non-conformity is minor or major, or whether the overall description is accurate, etc. But after all, when the report is finalized, there is one thing to be done, is to validate data. So once the report is approved, and we also need to validate data, and we have spotted two mistakes, and one is that either all the field in row has to be empty or has to be filled with NTFP part. And second thing is that audit identity shall be within the audit start and date. So we have to correct these two errors and to get through the validation. So let's go to the first audit evaluation page. Let's go to the audit itinerary and find the date. So obviously we need to put this date within the audit start and audit end date. Also, we need to go to the NTFP part. To the NTFP, you can see I entered 0 ton. However, I didn't identify what kind of NTFP. So let's select fruit, and 0 ton fruit is sold as an annual harvest, which is also fine. And we try validate again. So the validation is successful. Next step is that we can, after validation, we can upload data. However, for the moment, the upload data is in gray mode, so it's not applicable. We need to sign in as CB user. So the CB user normally is not auditor. However, it's administrative functions like product managers of CBs or coordinators. And let's press sign in. And you can see welcome CIT test. So we are signed in. And by signing in, the admin doesn't know that the validation actually happened already. So we need to validate again and to enable this upload data function. You can see the bottom is available now. Let's try to upload data. And it will pop up to let you know, be careful once the data is uploaded and then the document itself will be protected and read only. That makes sense because once data is uploaded, we need to make sure that the data is consistent from this report to our database. And you can see the update operation is in progress and upload data is succeeded. Very well. So after data uploading, you can see the document mode has changed to read only and the audit status shown as closed. And for that, the document is protected and you cannot make any changes any longer. It doesn't work. You can see it's restricted editing. And if you want to change something, if you spot an error in terms of data, errata request is allowed. Let's click errata, submit errata, and we ask you, do you want to enable track changes in submit errata mode, which is also okay. So let's try to type anything. So if we say there is 3.5 hectare, and you can see only track changes enabled. So if we submit errata, only the tracked changes, the changed data will be observed. So we don't have to upload the whole report again. Let's try submit errata. And it will ask you only track changes will be enabled and uploaded. Let's click yes. Errata changes saved successfully. So this is done and the report will be protected again. And now we need to verify what has happened to the backend. So let's go back to our certification portal and let's refresh this page. Let's refresh and go back to this FM certificator. Now you can see before it was non-applicable, now we have data. So the next step we can do is to proofread it. So to proofread, let's click translate. And you can find that from left side is the original data, original information. From right side, actually, it's automatically translated to Japanese as we configured it. So you can enter the name in local language to, for example, especially the name addresses can be in the local language. I will just type something as example. And we click save. After saving, we will be able to see the public summary. So let's go to public summary. And you can see what have proofread. I did some corrections and it's shown there. And do you remember what we did for the errata? So we did the errata, we changed from 3 to 3.5, and you can see the data is updated. So the translation is quite swift and smart. As you can see, the data labels has already translated into local languages. And also I want to point out that this public summary is available once we upload the data, and this page, audit public summary report, including the origin language and the local language, will be available for general public. And it's separated into parts. First, we have the certificator, and from there we can also select the audit. So for stakeholders who want to verify the details, especially regarding what type of tree species is available from certificator, you can verify from there. And if you want to see the non-conformities, you can go to the audit-related drop-down list. And this page will replace the current info.fsc, the search of this particular FM certificator. But depends on the condition that we have data from the FM report of this particular license code. So in case that this FM certificator, we do not have data, that page will stay the same. But once we have data, the page from here will replace the certificator related page from there. So the experience from external stakeholders is seamless. And for CB users, there's no need to retype all the species related information into our sales again to make it available. And this is quite automatic and seamless. You don't, as an user, you cannot feel the difference when there's data. The page will stay the same, but just the HTTP link will change from there to there. So I've shown you all the details of the whole modules of FM online reporting, including audit creation, report writing, data fetching, validation, upload. AI auto translation and proofreading, also errata submission. And if you want, if you have any questions, you want to user support, for example, you want to activate new accounts for CD administrative staff, or we need to set up the CB code or reset the CB code. When you have technical issues, you couldn't when get through the validation or upload data, please contact auditreport@fsc.org. And we are also very happy to hear your feedback regarding your user experience, and every software will be upgraded from time to time, and any kind of improvement is welcome. And having showed you in the beginning of this training, there is a landing site for Audit Digital Audit Report. From there, you get webinars, training videos, and resources and FAQs. And this training will be also uploaded there. For the FSC certificate portal, please refer to this page. So that's all for this training, and we're very happy that this product, the FM Online reporting tool, is realized and to be implemented. And we hope you enjoy the automations and stay healthy. Goodbye.